It all began with a glimmer on August 6, 2025, a moment so quiet, so sterile in a lab, and yet so deeply unsettling in its implications. The James Webb Space Telescope, the most effective observatory in human history, was forced into emergency override mode, not for a supernova, not for a black hole, but for something far more nearby and far more terrifying, a comet, or at least something that looked like one. Designated 3A Atlas, it was first assumed to be another interstellar wanderer, cold, silent, predictable, but when Webb's sensors locked on and the first wave of data poured in, what they captured wasn't just unexpected, it was impossible. The chemical signature it revealed didn't match any natural model. The ratios were grotesque, the elements mismatched, the behavior erratic, and as the numbers kept rising, one fear began to quietly thread its way through the minds of every astrophysicist watching the feed. What if this is not a comet at all? What if this is something sent? Stories like this are exactly why you need to subscribe right now so you never miss deep dives into discoveries that might change our view of the universe forever. The first sign that something was terribly wrong came from the comet's Coma, the bright envelope of gas surrounding its nucleus. Typically, at this distance 6 astronomical units from the sun, a comet should be asleep, frozen, inert. The sunlight out there is too weak to cause any meaningful outgassing, but 3A Atlas was already active, violently so. James Webb picked up spectral traces dominated not by water vapor, as expected, but by carbon dioxide. A lot of it, 8 times more than water. That ratio to 8 to 1 wasn't just unusual, it was unheard of. Normal comets barely reach 0.7. Even Borisov, the last interstellar visitor, hovered around 0.5. This was something else. A body spewing carbon dioxide at a rate that could not be explained by temperature or solar proximity. It was as if the object had been designed to vent this exact compound under conditions where nature wouldn't allow it. Even stranger, the Coma was ghostly thin. There was almost no dust, no solid debris, no typical chaos, just gas. Controlled, clean, and incredibly specific gas emissions that hinted at a different kind of chemistry, one alien to our understanding of comet formation. As the telescope locked in deeper, the story grew darker. Its sensors picked up something even more disturbing than gas: nickel. Strong, regular nickel spectral lines appeared across the ultraviolet and near-infrared bands. Not traces, not anomalies, powerful signals, clear, repetitive, real. Nickel lines stacked perfectly above background, growing in concentration the closer the object came. At 3.8 astronomical units, the output already measured above 10 atoms per second. By the 0.85 astronomical units, it had increased by a full order of magnitude. But the shock wasn't the presence of nickel, it was the absence of iron.
Across all instruments, from Webb to the VLT to Gemini, iron was absent, flat, dead. No signal, no trace, not even noise. And that's not normal. In every natural comet and meteorite ever recorded, nickel and iron are partners. Their ratio is tightly coupled, 1 part nickel to 15 parts iron, consistently. Until now. 3A Atlas broke this rule in the most violent way possible. Nickel outweighed iron by more than 40 to 1. There is no known natural process that can create such a split. In labs, separating those metals takes energy, equipment, intention. And here, drifting silently through space was an object doing it passively, or perhaps not passively at all. Before the chemical signatures were fully decoded, something else caught the eye of the Pan-STARRS tracking network. 3A Atlas was accelerating, but not like a comet would, not from solar heating or pressure. It was too far from the sun, too cold for sublimation jets to generate that much momentum. Yet over just 72 hours, the object's speed increased by 0.1 meters per second squared. That number might sound small, but for a body 11 kilometers wide, the size of a city, that kind of acceleration is massive. Like seeing a cruise ship pick up speed in the middle of a dead calm ocean with no engines. The change wasn't smooth either. Analysts observed micro-jumps, jittery sparkles layered over the main arc of motion, as though something inside the object was turning on and off and on again. Attempts to explain it through outgassing, fractured crusts, or solar winds failed. None matched the rhythm. None explained the regularity. Because it was regular. Every 7.2 hours, 3A Atlas brightened sharply and predictably like a lighthouse. The brightness curve wasn't chaotic, like tumbling debris. It was clockwork. Some suggested a sheet-like surface catching sunlight. Others proposed a hollow rotating frame. But one thing was clear. This wasn't a rock. It was something moving with precision. And here's where the science begins to tremble, because when everything natural is ruled out, what remains is an option no one wants to face. 3A Atlas is engineered, constructed, manufactured, maybe not by intention, maybe it's debris, a fragment, a derelict vessel from a civilization that died before Earth grew forests. But maybe it's something worse, something alive, a probe still active, a mechanism still responding, a system that sees us and doesn't care, one that follows a trajectory not set by nature but by design. Because no comet should wake up in the deep freeze, emit metallic nickel without iron, accelerate without fuel, and spin with mechanical rhythm. And yet here it is, doing all of that in front of our best instruments with no effort to hide. The James Webb override wasn't just a technical response. It was a whisper of panic, an unspoken consensus that this isn't normal, that this might be the first time we are looking directly at alien machinery.